A few housekeeping rules. We're very glad you're here, but please remember this is a public space and we're all here to enjoy it together. We are very happy for you to have your cameras on for this event, but we do ask you to keep your microphones off during the presentation as there will be time for questions after. If you'd like to use the text chat, we do ask that you don't post any advertisements or external links. I'd also like to let you all know that we are very happy to be helping launch the National Tree Week. So if you happen to be in Bath tomorrow, we would love to welcome you at Sydney Gardens at 11:15 to celebrate the launch. I'm here to keep the event running smoothly, so I'm going to pass on now to our presenters. The first of whom I will introduce is Alex.
Hi everyone, I will just share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. And a big welcome to the event today. And we've got some fantastic speakers. So I'm from the Forest of Avon Trust, which is a charity. The Forest of Avon is one of England's community forests, and it's been in existence for over 30 years in varying forms. And the Forest of Avon is essentially the trees and woodlands throughout the west of England, so Bristol, Bath and North East Somerset, South Gloucestershire and North Somerset. And as a community forest, we're all about bringing trees to people and people to trees. And as you can see from my first slide, we are looking at transforming and accelerating the action that we're all taking, every one of us within the region, for our local trees and woodlands as part of England's community forests and the Forest of Avon. So just to show a couple of pictures to start us off. So this is a student from the City of Bristol College who are working with planting saplings out as part of a woodland wellbeing at course, although it involves everything including life skills and survival. We do survival skills sessions out in the woods, cooking, crafts, art, everything you can imagine. And this is one of our school orchard projects from our Trees for Learning a few years ago. And these are some of our recent Trees for Climate planting projects, many of which took place across Bath and North East Somerset from December last year when it was launched. And we recently, in June of this year, launched the Forest of Avon Plan, which is a tree and woodland strategy for the whole of the west of England. And the key goal is to double tree cover in the region and including Bath and North East Somerset by 2050, and also to manage all of our existing woodlands, because at the moment only around 45% are effectively managed. So how can we bring our existing assets in terms of all our trees and woodlands into fantastic management so they can thrive and be as good as they can for biodiversity and for our communities and public access and everything else. And this is just an example of the plan. It has a 5-year action plan contained within it, which has specific actions for every individual area within the region. And as you can see, Bath and Environs is one of those regions, but there are many others, and it sets out specific individual actions that we can all get involved in. So I was just thinking the other day in terms of what we do for our trees and woodlands. Every day we brush our teeth, we pay into insurances, mortgages and savings accounts and pensions. There are lots of things we do that are investing into our future, and trees can be one of them, trees and woodlands, and protecting our green spaces and our all of our natural habitats. But focusing on trees and woodlands as we are today, the more we can do now and sort of treat it as our sort of bread and butter activity that we need to be doing to invest in our future. It's about lives, it's about changing lives and investing in our future lives and future generations. So this just highlights some of the financial benefits that trees can bring us. And at this time, it's just we've got a lot of funding coming into the region to plant more trees and look after our trees. And how can we make the best of this opportunity when we've got all the resources and knowledge there that we know what to do? So how can everyone get involved and get our trees planted? So to double tree cover, we would need 1 tree planted per person in the region every 10 years to achieve the double tree cover by 2050. So doesn't sound that much when we say it like that. So 3.3 million trees. So if every person can get involved and plant several trees, then we're well on our way to achieving that target, and hopefully even sooner if we can. And just want to say that Bath and North East Somerset Council, unfortunately not here today to be able to talk about their work, but they are being hugely proactive and supportive of the plan and tree planting projects, and we're working really closely with them on and helping to support and fund lots of different planting projects on some of the Bath parks, open spaces, street trees. We've also got some fantastic community groups getting involved planting orchards across Bath and North East Somerset that the community can enjoy. So when we talk about all those things that we do to invest in our lives and our futures, the good thing about trees is it can be lots of fun, and the actual benefits of doing the planting, getting involved in projects, seeing those trees grow can be, you know, such a huge benefit, as well as the actual benefit that the trees are bringing to us. I'll skip over this quickly, but just to see how everything links into national and regional targets, and that's what the plan does. And just to mention, ash dieback means that up to sort of 14–16% of our trees are ash in this region, which means that a lot of those will be dying off due to the disease that's hitting them, and therefore we need to be planting lots of trees of different species to just be standing still on that and looking at how we can sort of manage those ash trees that can survive. So just to run through, we have a fund called Trees for Climate, which has come into our region as one of England's community forests. So we're really privileged to have this fund available. It's a DEFRA fund, and it's really broad in the sense that it can fund hedgerows, wood pasture, street trees, small and larger scale woodland. We can add on carbon credits on top of that, and other different funding that can be brought into that, as well as business funding as well. So it's a really great opportunity. So I just wanted to mention and talk to you a little bit about that. So last season we planted 15.5 hectares across quite a bit across Bath and North East Somerset, and then North Somerset, and some community projects as well, and schools and other projects. And this year we're looking at upscaling that to between 60. We're just finalising our planting projects at the moment, and people are putting in planting dates, and we're looking at potentially 60 to 80 hectares of new planting, and a huge array of wonderful projects, community projects, working with the local authorities, doing things in public spaces. So just a huge array of different fantastic planting schemes. And this will just show you a couple of the stats there, and that's just looking at hectares. It's a whole range of different types of land that we are supporting, and we could either support the whole project in terms of seeing it through all the regulatory processes, supporting a landowner with an application, or we could take a step back and just literally provide the funds. So it's a really flexible scheme in that sense as well. So do speak to us if you know of anyone or think you might be interested in getting involved in having some funds for trees, and it can be from 0.1 hectares or above, and we can sometimes fund smaller schemes through business support. So that opportunity is wide open for anyone who sees an area of land or knows of a landowner who might want to get involved and plant some trees. These are just showing you some of the sites in the different areas, and this is just a fantastic case study that is great to mention, where it shows how partnership working can come together and bring just huge benefits. So Grey for Life charity, who help support people gaining life skills and confidence, got together to plant 1,500 trees on the Bath skyline, along with Bath and North East Somerset Council, and with funding from our Trees for Climate scheme. And the local community can get involved and then watch those trees grow over the coming years, and in 20 years time can look back and say those were the trees that I planted. And just to highlight sort of nationally how Trees for Climate is intended to really just upscale our tree planting to hit those national targets, but also locally. So 20% of all new tree planting in England during 2020-21, so up to March when the tree planting season ends, was done through Trees for Climate. And as I think I've said, this year we're looking to do 4 times what we did last year, at least in this region. So again, it will be going upwards. And as a community, for us, our whole focus is obviously about how we can improve people's lives in everything we do. And the work that we're doing through Trees for Climate will bring more people into the Woodland Trust standard of having being within 500 metres of a woodland. And a lot of the work we're doing is in those areas which may be the most deprived areas in the country, or those with low tree cover. And in terms of carbon, which obviously being Trees for Climate, one of the key goals is that carbon sequestration. So this is for the England's projects last year, and what those trees over a lifetime will sequester. And through the west of England for year 1, that would work out about 3,000 or so tonnes of carbon. But if year 2 might be 15,000 tonnes, and then by 2025, we might be up to 75,000 tonnes just for this region alone. And I'll just finish on ways you can get involved in terms of through the Forest of Avon. Obviously, our partners will be talking today about all the opportunities they have. So part of our role is to share those opportunities widely. So there'll be lots of different ways to get involved through Bath and North East Somerset Council. They have tree planting days coming up. But through the Forest of Avon, do get in touch with us. We can either put you in touch with partner projects we're funding through Trees for Climate who might have volunteering opportunities. And we may also have our own dates coming up as well. You can join our pledge, which is a business or organisation or a school, just to raise that awareness and say we're supporting the Forest of Avon. We're going to look at what we can do to enjoy our woodlands, and just awareness raising. So you can share the word of what's happening in the region. You could get involved to support future projects that we'll be implementing through the Forest of Avon plan. Get involved in some of those actions that are going on there, and you can look at if there are any areas of land that we can fund trees on. And on Tuesday we launch our first big Give Appeal, which is the Rooting for Us All Together campaign. So from Tuesday next week, for a week, you can donate into that to match fund, to bring in the match funding. So if you donate, we'll be able to double or treble that fund to then from next year look at who's not currently able to plant those trees, and how can we get people involved who may be facing barriers such as maybe housebound or speak a different language and not know about what we're doing. So lots of different examples of where we can work with other charities and then go out there into our communities and find out how we can get more people involved. And that's everything from me. So I should pass on to the next speaker, who is Julia Kennaby from the Bathscape Volunteer Coordinator and Support Officer.
Right, thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Julia Kennaby. I work on a project called Bathscape as their volunteer coordinator. Today, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the Bathscape project as a whole and what's it all about, and opportunities to get involved through volunteering, which includes tree planting. There we go. So Bathscape is what's known as a landscape partnership scheme. So it's basically coming together of around a dozen different organisations that all have an interest in the Bath countryside. It's quite a broad ranging project, but its main aims, if you like, are to restore the countryside in and around Bath, both for biodiversity benefit, but also to encourage people to explore it and benefit from it and improve their health and well-being. We are funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. It's a 6-year project and we're about halfway through at this stage. Like I say, it's quite a broad ranging project. Under the whole Bathscape sort of umbrella, we've got 25 individual projects. So rather than run through them all, I just thought I'd mention that they each come under 4 themes, and I'll go through each of those themes just to give you a broader idea of what Bathscape's about. So the first one is conserve and restore. And this refers to the actual works on the ground that we're doing to restore woodland and grassland habitats. So we do quite a lot of restoration works on the grounds with volunteer groups, and I'll talk on a bit more about that in more detail in a moment. We also offer an advisory service for landowners, so those who have grassland and woodland sites and would like to try and improve them for wildlife. We offer experts to go out and offer them advice and opportunities to find more funding and so on. We work with the Forest of Avon to provide the woodland advisory service. Second theme is therapeutic landscape. That basically refers to all the works we do to try and get people out and about and, like I say, improving their health and well-being. We run a project called Landscape on Prescription, which is based over at Bath City Farm, and that's about getting people out and about doing sort of practical conservation works around the farm site, but also mixed in with sort of nature-based mindfulness sessions. We also run various different wellbeing walking groups every week, so getting people out and about walking. We run a walking festival every year, which hopefully some of you may have already heard of. It's been going for a few years now, so it's 2 weeks, mid-September every year. We run about 50 to 60 different walks of varying lengths and themes. Hopefully there's something there for everyone. We also run a series of nature watch events that come under our therapeutic landscape banner. So things like bat walks. If you're interested in bat walks, do let me know. We've got lots of those going on. Our third theme is access. So this again is about encouraging people to get out and about, but basically by improving the walking routes and trails in the Bathscape area. We're just now finishing work on our Circuit of Bath Trail, which is a 21.5 mile circular walk that goes around the whole of the Bathscape. Some of you may have already heard of it in that it's a sponsored walk every year done to raise money for Julian House, the homeless charity. So we've been working with them on the route, but yeah, the works we've done this year basically mean that it's now fully waymarked. There's been various path improvements and so on, so people can access it sort of year round and do it whenever they like. And there's been lots of opportunities for volunteers to get involved doing those works. In terms of active landscapes as well, we'll run things like summer events in parks for families. We offer things like tree climbing and paddleboarding and archery and all sorts. So just trying to get people engaged in their local green spaces. And then learning, training and skills, that's our fourth theme. That covers an array of things, but we do a habitat survey and monitoring project that's delivered for us by the Avon Wildlife Trust. That happens every spring and summer. So again, going out looking at different grassland and woodland sites and surveying them. And then we also offer sort of skills, training and practical skills. So things like hedge laying, scything meadows, all sorts of practical conservation based tasks really. And then we'll put on broader courses as well. We've just put lots of volunteers through first aid training and that sort of thing. We also do some work with primary schools under this theme as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what the Bathscape project is about. It's quite broad, like I say. What relates most to tree planting, I suppose most relevant to this session, is our Community Action for Nature volunteers, our CAN volunteers. So these are the people out and about doing the restoration works. We run about 4 sessions a month on average, and the sessions are led for us by the Avon Wildlife Trust and the National Trust. By and large, I run the occasional session, but don't get out very much, unfortunately. The sessions are open to anyone, really. They're normally on a Tuesday or a Wednesday with the occasional weekend session, and we run a range of activities sort of throughout the year, so depending on the season and what's going on, what needs doing. So at this time of year we'll be out tree planting, we'll be out doing things like hedge laying, a little bit of coppicing work. Other times of year we could be out harvesting wildflower seed. So a lot of our work focuses on grassland restoration work. So we've done a lot of work harvesting wildflower seed from wildflower rich meadows and then trying to create new meadows elsewhere. So that picture in the middle there showed you, that's us creating a meadow at Innox Park, just south of Bath City Farm earlier this year. We'll also do things like come the late summer, we'll scythe those meadows and then remove the arisings just to make sure, you know, we continue to get a nice biodiverse rich meadow year on year. And then our volunteers have also been out doing things like step building. So yeah, quite a real array of tasks that happen throughout the year. But at the moment, like I say, it's all about tree planting. We had volunteers out last week in Pennyquick Park, and these are the events we've got coming up over the next couple of months. The majority of our tree planting at the moment takes place in conjunction with the Parks Department at Bath and North East Somerset Council. So we'll be out with them this Wednesday at Brickfields, you know that site. And then I've included a poster there in that I know the Parks Department are running 2 follow-up sessions later on in the week. Details are on there for you. Then we're at the Bath Union Workhouse Burial Ground in Odddown the following week. We've been doing lots of works there to try and improve the site for wildlife and make it sort of a more fitting memorial for the people that are buried there. And yeah, then we've got a couple more dates in December and January. There's Saturday coming up in January, as you can see. And I've also put down, not a tree planting event exactly, but I thought it might be of interest to some of you. We're doing some work at Bath City Farm. They've got a nice orchard there that's in need of pruning. So we're running a fruit tree pruning workshop that will be open to Bathscape volunteers to sign up to if they're interested. I think that's about it from me. I've included all my details there, so if anyone should like to learn more a bit about volunteering and how they can get involved in the various opportunities we've got, then please do get in touch. Thank you.
Great, I think I'm next. Hi everyone, I'm Adam Gretton from More Trees Baines. I'll just share my screen as well and introduce you to More Trees Baines. Hopefully everyone can see my screen here, shout if not. So yeah, so More Trees Baines, for those of you that don't know, we're a not-for-profit community group. We set up in 2008. And it's just something we've been doing in our spare time. We've planted approaching 10,000 trees so far. And what we've been doing is buying those trees and then planting them. But what we're now doing, our main focus from now on, is to actually grow our own. So we're setting up a network of community tree nurseries. We're now working in partnership with Grow Yourself. Some of you may know the Urban Garden Centre in Vicky Park. That's run by Grow Yourself, and we're partnered with them, and we've hired a coordinator, and we're expanding our network of community tree nurseries. We've also got some lottery funding, and we're supported by various different trusts and philanthropists and grant-making bodies. So I'm going to start with a problem and explain how tree planting can go wrong. Alex mentioned NASH dieback disease. I think most people are aware of this. If you're not, it's something that's come from importing trees. So as a country, we were importing a lot of trees to save money, which, you know, so the tree planting was there for a good reason, but unfortunately there's been this unintended consequence, which is going to kill up to 150 million ash trees in our country, which is really sad. So it's kind of one step forward, 10 steps back. So I'm not going to be depressing for this whole presentation, but I'm just going to start with the problem, but then I'm going to explain what we think the solution is. So, ash dieback disease is just one example. There's lots of pests and diseases that we've got in this country that's attacking our native and non-native trees that have come from cheap imports from elsewhere. We've got the oak processionary moth, Dutch elm disease, has been around for quite a while, bleeding canker, sweet chestnut blight. I'm not actually going to try and pronounce that one. One of my esteemed panel members might be able to help me out. But the point is there's lots of pests and diseases that have come from importing trees. So you can see how ash dieback has spread. Then the other issue that's here for tree planting as well is the supply and demand. So really good news that tree planting is accelerating massively. That's great. That's what we need. But the nurseries aren't always able to keep up with demand. So plant shortages are actually going to mean that a lot of tree planting targets simply are unachievable. Projects are having to be delayed, postponed, or even cancelled. You can see here in the Northern Islands, the sea border is stopping them. Well, why are we having to import trees, even from another part of Britain? Surely we should be able to localize this. So yeah, lots of challenges for tree planting projects by being reliant on buying your trees from far away. So that's the problem. That's all the depressing bit done. So what we believe the solution is, we think it's staring us in the face. All around us are little pockets of ancient and semi-natural woodland where we can find indigenous population of trees. So we're going out and we're collecting seed and cuttings where we've got permission from the landowner, and we're going to start growing our own. So this season we've collected 26,000 seeds, and we'll be doing cuttings as well. Here's one of our volunteers processing the seeds. It's been quite a mammoth exercise, you can imagine. You've got 26,000 seeds and you've got to follow a different process for each variety, but we try and have some fun along the way. So the seeds are all being processed at Vicky Park. So as I said, working in partnership with the Urban Garden and Baines Council are giving us some space there as well in the glass houses. We're then busy setting up community tree nurseries. So once we've got the seedlings germinated at Vicky Park, they'll then go out to the community tree nurseries. And we've set up 3 so far. This is the newest one. This is just from about a month ago when we're putting the infrastructure in. This is Walnut Springs in Combe Down. This one's just over a year old. This is Barrow Mead, south of Bath. You can see how beautiful it is. You can see Breach and Middle Woods, some ancient semi-natural woodland where we've been collecting. And then Dry Arch, this is our other nursery in Bathampton. So we're planning a whole network of tree nurseries. We're setting up in schools. We're interested in people that have got private land. We're exploring ideas with the council, Curo. So we're going to be setting up community tree nurseries all over the place. Lots of people help out. There's lots of different tasks, different times of year. Obviously in the summer, we've got watering. There's weeding all year round. Lots of work to do, but we try and have some fun. And it's been really nice. We've engaged with so many different parts of the community. You're looking at a lot of volunteers from the University of Bath here. They've been absolutely fantastic. Students are really keen to make a difference in the local area. And also Blooming Whiteway are in this picture as well. It's a great community group that have taken over the day-to-day running of this nursery at Barrow Mead. So that's what we're doing, and that's why we're doing it. And I guess just to pause a little bit more on the why, just thinking about that local provenance. So where has your tree come from? Obviously, if it's come from far away, then you're starting with a carbon footprint. You're risking pests and diseases being spread about. But also, even if you're buying British trees that are maybe grown in the other end of the country, they may not be quite so suited to local conditions. The climate is different in different places, the light's different, and also the pollination timings are different as well. So, you might plant a tree that's not necessarily in sync with everything else. So, we're all trying to go local in terms of buying local food and local produce, support local businesses. Well, we think this is a way that tree planting could be massively improved by growing from local stock and just trying to stop transporting things so far. So that's you know, what we're up to. Lots of ways that you can help. Here's a few ideas. I mentioned we're encouraging schools to set up nurseries. It'd be really helpful if there was someone that maybe has some experience of schools from an educational setting that might be interested in advising or supporting us with that. We're also starting a regular Thursday morning volunteering slot at the Urban Garden in Vicky Park, and there'll be various different tasks depending on the time of year, but it'll all be related to getting these seedlings going, ready to be shipped out to the tree nurseries. In the summer, there's going to be lots of watering, you know, down at Vicky Park, where we'll be having all these seedlings, but also at the nurseries themselves. We're also going to need to start getting more familiar with the woodlands in and around the area. We've already made a start with that, and we've collected, you know, thousands of seeds, but we'd like to get, you know, more familiar and start mapping things out so we know which varieties are where, and, you know, maybe have people that could be, while they're out on dog walks and things like that, could be keeping an eye on how the seeds are developing so that we don't miss a window to collect a particular variety. And then 2 specific nurseries we're really in need of some regular volunteers. So Walnut Springs in Coombe Down, this is our newest nursery, and we're interested in some regular volunteers coming along once a month, once a week, whatever you can do. But you know, really interested in people that have got, you know, knowledge of trees, horticulture, but also, you know, a lot of the work is just weeding and watering. So even if people have got no knowledge whatsoever and just want to come and help, that would be really valuable to us as well. And then the other nursery, as I said, at Dry Arch in Bathampton, we also need to recruit some more regular volunteers there. And then behind the scenes, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we could be doing better. You know, we're doing so much work, but we don't always get the time to shout about it on social media. We could be engaging with our followers quite a lot more. And indeed, beyond social media, we're not very good at getting press releases written, things like that. So really value some help with that kind of thing and general communications. Construction, so, you know, any landscape gardeners, builders, anything like that, you know, we're going to need to put fencing in. We're going to be installing beds and building compost bins and maintaining the nurseries. And then also got this idea for a quartermaster or a quartermistress. We're really keen to reuse, repurpose, recycle stuff, you know, so we don't want to be buying new timber and new materials all the time. And there's, you know, if someone's got time to scour for eagle and things like that, there's all sorts of materials that we could be putting to good use. So yeah, so please do get in touch. If it's about volunteering, you can see the volunteers' email address there. If you want to find out more about the project generally, feel free to reach me via my email or give me a call. And of course, we're on social media and we're online as well. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Adam. That's a great sort of example of where people often think about just the actual tree planting, but there is so much more that goes into all of our trees and woodlands. And obviously Julia picked up on the woodland management and access and that care for existing woodlands, all those things which go around it. And then Adam's highlighted that it's much more wider than tree planting, and it's looking at our local sourcing and how can we make our sourcing more sustainable as well, instead of importing lots of saplings and everything else that goes with the projects. So fantastic example there. And now I think we'll hear from Sam Village from the Tree Council, who's going to talk to us a bit about tree wardens.
That's great. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
Brilliant. Great. Well, thank you very much. Oh, can you still see the screen?
Yep.
You should be able to, yeah, just see
Yes,
a slide. Yeah. You can't see my speaker notes, no. Yeah, so it's really great to be with you all. I'm based in South Leicestershire, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Tree Council's National Tree Warden Scheme. But I'm going to start off by just giving you a little bit of background about the Tree Council. So because, you know, not everyone is familiar with our work. So the Tree Council is a national charity. We act as an umbrella organisation for organisations involved in tree planting, tree care and conservation. And as a charity, our aims are to inspire and empower organisations and individuals with the knowledge and tools that they need to create positive, lasting change at both a national and a local level. But obviously those can have global impact as well. So the Tree Council was founded in 1974 as I say, sort of as an umbrella organisation of UK organisations coming together. Its aim is to build on the national campaign Plant a Tree in 73, which was set up, as you know, as a response to replant the landscape after Dutch elm disease. And another great devastation of trees that happened with the Great Storm of 1987. And this created the need and a desire for a national force of tree champions who would help care for and restore the treescape. And inspired by local schemes in Leicestershire and East Sussex, the Tree Council set up the National Tree Warden Scheme in 1990. So last year, we celebrated our 30th anniversary of Tree Warden Scheme, and I'm pleased to say it's still going very strong. So the Tree Council's work is all about bringing people together for the love of trees, and we do this in 4 ways. The charity funds, plants and cares for trees, orchards and hedgerows with the help of our National Tree Warden network of volunteers, but also through our community grant schemes. We aim to inspire the next generation of young environmentalists through our National Schools programme, and we have our Orchards for Schools project and our Young Tree Champion scheme. We also have a handful of young ambassadors who are young people who are working in their community, really inspirational young people who have come on board with the Tree Councillors to be our ambassadors to other young people and inspire them. We use practical science and research. We've got a science and research team, and we use our research to help influence policy and support best practice in trees and the environment. And it's through our science and research team that we've developed things like the ash dieback toolkit. We're working on an oak processionary moth toolkit for local authorities so that they can use our toolkits to help develop their own strategies for dealing with those types of pests and diseases. And also we harness the power of partnerships. So working with the charity's 100 or so member organisations to help create a healthy tree-filled future for our planet. So the Tree Council, as I say, we coordinate the National Tree Warden Scheme. We do this by working with local authorities, voluntary organisations, parish councils, and local partnerships to set up and develop the Tree Warden network in towns, cities and rural communities across the UK. Our volunteer tree wardens form part of a local network, which is run by a coordinator. Many of these networks are set up with local authorities, but where this isn't possible, the Tree Council, we work with local partnerships to set up independent constituted community groups. The role of the Tree Warden Coordinator is to manage the volunteer tree wardens at a local level, and we encourage tree warden networks to decide what their priorities are for action based on what their needs are in their communities and how they want to kind of apply their skills and their passion to care for trees locally. But we give a lot of guidance, and I'll talk in a minute about the kinds of, the role of a tree warden and the kinds of activities they can get involved in. The Tree Warden Scheme has a national advisory group made up of representative coordinators from 9 regions across the UK. And tree wardens are invited to share their ideas, their stories, their projects, and any suggestions they have for the network through their network coordinator, who can then share it, bring it forward to the advisory group. The Tree Council's partnership with our tree wardens is really critical in delivering some key goals, and these are to make trees matter to everyone by engaging with the public and local communities so that everyone understands the benefits of trees. to plant more trees of the right kind in the right place by encouraging and getting people involved in projects. But also, really importantly, is to provide better care for trees of all ages. So, you know, once we've done that planting, it's about looking after those young trees so they become the mature trees of the future and hopefully become the ancient trees a lot, you know, in many years to come. But we encourage tree wardens to share their knowledge and encourage their local community to look after, like I say, new plantings, but also existing trees in our communities. You know, ongoing care is really important. And finally, to inspire regular and effective action for trees. So community involvement is at the heart of tree wardening. Tree warden networks encourage volunteers to act as the eyes, the ears and the voice for trees in their local community, to get people involved, like I say, in planting and caring for trees and even the management of local woods. Help set up tree nurseries using locally collected seed, and Adam touched on that, you know, but that's something, so the Tree Council has 4 seasonal campaigns. Sorry, we have 5 now. And one of those is seed gathering season, which runs from the mid-September to mid-October. And that's when we encourage people to collect tree seeds and you know, germinate them, care for them, growing trees for our future, and everything that Adam talked about in terms of local provenance and things like that. And one thing that Tree Council are doing is we're rewriting our Good Seed Guide. So through our Close the Gap hedgerow project, we're rewriting that guide, which will be launched in the spring. But we've also got a project through our Shared Outcomes project, where we will be developing biosecurity advice and support for community tree nurseries. We also, you know, volunteer tree wardens help record and monitor trees. We have training materials for tree wardens that help take them through a basic tree health assessment, so they can monitor trees and report to the tree owner any concerns, any initial, you know, the sort of early indications of any pests and diseases or something, a problem with the tree, or even vandalism. We encourage tree wardens to work closely and positively with their local authority, and in particular their local tree officer, if their local authority has a tree officer. And as I mentioned, you know, we've got our 5 Tree Council seasonal campaigns. And so we've got National Tree Week, which the Tree Council launched in 1974. And now we're really pleased. It's a campaign that a lot of organisations take part in. So we've got National Tree Week. We have our Tree Care campaign, which runs during sort of March to September, and that's about encouraging people to look after their trees, go out, check the tree ties, tree guards, water trees in the really, you know, if we have really hot, dry spells in the summer. We've got our Walk in the Woods in May. That's encouraging people to get out and celebrate their local trees, organise guided walks in their community. And we launched this year, for the first time, we launched National Hedgerow Week at the end of May, beginning of June. And I've mentioned also seed gathering season. I hope I've covered them all. And there's lots of other opportunities as well. So we've got our National Schools Programme. Tree wardens can get involved working with schools. We've got tree wardens who run tree festivals, apple days, do talks. We've got a tree warden in St Albans who's worked with her local museum and has put on an absolutely fantastic exhibition in St Albans Museum called The Remarkable World of Trees. We have tree wardens doing a whole host of different activities, and we really do encourage networks to work with their volunteer tree wardens to shape what it is that their network wants to achieve. And many tree warden networks are set up, as I say, by local authorities, which is helpful for the coordination of the local tree wardens across their county or district. Local authorities play a key role in managing trees, and tree wardens' local knowledge and connections can be an invaluable asset for them. Tree Wardens can provide a catalyst for positive change because they understand the community's needs. And we recommend that where we set up independent networks, that they should also have a positive working relationship with their local authority for the same reasons. And over the last couple of years, we've seen a huge increase in local authorities declaring climate emergencies and their eagerness to develop biodiversity, environmental and climate change strategies. And we know that as well as all of that, that councils are also developing tree and woodland strategies, flood management plans, healthy schools programmes, all in addition to their regular tree management responsibilities. And this slide here just shows you the wide range of ways that a tree warden can actually help support their local authority with these different activities. Tree wardens really can play a valuable role in raising awareness, engaging positively with the community, mapping trees, planting them, caring for them, and like I say, spotting pests and diseases, as well as working with young people through their schools. So yeah, that in a nutshell gives you a really basic overview of the Tree Warden scheme. There's my contact details if anybody wants any further information. I mean, that really is a whistle-stop tour, but hopefully it's like I say, it's given you a really good flavour of the Tree Warden scheme. I'll stop sharing and then hopefully we can see each other and then we can take any questions, I suppose.
Sam, I've just seen a question about how do you become a tree warden? This is from Avon, I believe. Is it volunteering, training, courses?
Okay, so perhaps what I should have explained is we don't sort of necessarily appoint individuals as tree wardens, so you have to become part of a tree warden network. So but the first step would be to find out if there is a tree warden network in your local area. If the question, I assume because we're on the Bath weekender that the question has come from somebody who lives in Bath, is that right? Yeah, so
Sure.
there isn't currently a tree warden network in your local area, but the Tree Council, we would love to help set one up, really. So if you know of other people who'd be interested in becoming tree wardens, or if you can perhaps speak to the local authority and try and encourage them to find out more about the Tree Warden network, I'm more than happy to meet with local authority officers and explain to them the Tree Warden scheme. If we can get a network set up, then it would be the network that appoints the Tree Warden volunteers and recruits them. But yes, so the network would become a member of the Tree Council, and we would provide training materials. We give lots of other support. We have regular newsletters to support volunteers. We have a Facebook page. We have all sorts of materials and resources available to support networks. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Sam. Sounds like there's an opportunity there for someone, if you wanted to start up that sort of network, and the First of Avon Trust, and I'm sure many other partners would support that as well, and the councils, and so do get in touch with the Tree Council, and then if you want to get in touch with us as well, and we'll see what we can do to support that happening.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to hear from you.
And thanks, Sam, that was brilliant. Again, another example of the sort of complexity of everything, and talking about biosecurity and supporting the nurseries in that is fantastic. And tree wardens having that privilege to influence a tree's life, rather than just be down to luck, but also the responsibility that we have due to our sort of human, our impacts as humans, to look after the trees that are in the ground. So yeah, so I shall, I think there's one question already that's come up, and Adam has put in response to that, so I'll just, for everyone in the group, just highlight that one. So Antonia has asked, no one is mentioning tree species selection to give better resilience in the face of climate change. It is important to mix in both native species for warmer climates and exotics. It is the near monoculture of ash that is spelling such disaster. Adam, I don't know if you want to, shall I read out your answer if you want to respond to that one specifically,
Yeah.
and then I can follow up with them.
Yeah, sure. So More Trees Bane, we've been totally focused on natives, but there's a growing need to think beyond that. And it was interesting. I was on a webinar with other tree nurseries, and there's one in London called the Tree Musketeers, and they're in Hackney in London. It's very, very urban, and they've said native oaks, rowans, things like that just don't cope with the heat. It's just so much hotter because you get this urban heat island effects, so much concrete and less green space. So for them, it's absolutely essential to plant non-natives. So we're still mainly focused on natives because Bath isn't quite the same. I think if you're planting in a street or in the centre of town, definitely you're going to need to think about that, and it's only going to get hotter. So yeah, we are starting to think about that. So yeah, hopefully we can connect. I'd love to roll up your knowledge, see how we can collaborate on that. Definitely.
And just to add to that, within the Forest of Avon plan, one of the actions is to look at how we are collectively or individually addressing climate change within our tree planting projects or establishment projects. At the moment, a master's student from UE is actually doing a placement project with us through the West of England Nature Partnership as well, to look at all the research, but also talk to partners about all the different views in the region. So hopefully in a few weeks we'll have their conclusions as to sort of what might be the sort of broader actions that we should be taking if we're not already doing so. And yeah, just sort of looking at the views in the round. Sam, did you want to come in?
Well, I was just going to add to what Adam said, and I think it also really comes down to the right tree in the right place. And so there will be some situations where planting native trees would perhaps be more important because of the biodiversity, or if you're next to a triple SI or something, you're sort of planting nearer somewhere that's really important for native biodiversity, then you might need to think about what you're actually planting. Or out in the countryside, so in hedgerows and things like that, what is most appropriate for that setting. And sort of, I think, urban situations, there's perhaps a greater opportunity for more of those sort of non-native kind of cultivar type species, if you know what I mean, rather than, you can, it comes down to the right tree in the right place, I think.
Thanks, Sam. I'm just going to check if I've missed any questions further up the chat, but I think any other last questions coming in from the audience there, we'll perhaps give it another 30 seconds or so, or do feel free to put your hand up and we can come to you live on the chat.
Actually, Alex, I had a question for Sam, if I may, and on the Tree Warden scheme. I mean, it strikes me there must be a huge amount you can learn by doing that. Just wondering what sort of training people might go through.
Okay, so for our member networks, we have a whole set of training materials. The first one is an induction module, which takes people through, what is a tree warden and what they can and cannot do. I didn't really touch on that in my presentation, but there are certain things a tree warden cannot do, like enter private land or use chainsaws without the required training and the certificate and the insurance. But then we have 7 other modules. So we've got things like trees and the law, tree threats and challenges, tree biology, tree health, etc. So those are all as learning guides that tree wardens can have. But we also support coordinators and training facilitators to deliver face-to-face and online training for tree wardens. So we've got all of those kinds of resources available to support the training of the volunteer tree wardens. Does that answer your question, Adam? Is that...
Yeah, it does. Sounds great. Thanks, Sam.
Okay.
We've got a question from Avon. What are the most common trees that now are being planted in Bath and surrounding areas I think I would probably say it's probably a large variety, probably, and as Adam said about the urban trees can tend to be more of a mix of different species and sort of a wider range than we would normally. In terms of the woodland we're sort of supporting, it's generally a sort of mixed native type, but I don't know if anyone wants to add into that.
Yeah, just build on that. Yeah, I mean, we're often planting in, you know, more rural locations, and often it's a countryside mix. We're doing hedgerows, things like that, and hawthorn is quite sensible to be quite a high proportion of that. So that's probably the most common thing that we've planted.
We actually provide us all our species have to get reported, so we'll get that up on our website at some point so you can see, but there's also, I think you can often find information about what the most common species in your area on different websites as well.
Yeah, one of the things we're looking at as well is the species mix. I can't remember the name of it. There's a National Vegetation Classification Index or something like that, I think, and Baines sits across 2 areas, and this basically suggests what the native trees, what the kind of natural mix would be. So certainly when we're planting in more rural locations, that's one of our go-to lists of trees to consider.
So that's fantastic, everyone. I think we'll be bringing the event to a close now. We're just gone 3:30, but it's been really fascinating for me. So hopefully to hearing from all the other speakers as well. So thank you so much, and thanks to everyone for coming along and having a listen. And do think of one thing that you can do from today to take away and go and do next week that will help support your local trees and woodlands.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I'd just like to thank everyone on behalf of Baines and on behalf of Rethinking Cities Limited for attending this panel event today. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely afternoon. If you'd like to join more of our panel events, such as Right Tree, Right Place this afternoon, an expert panel looking at tree care, you can join us at 5:30. You can head to sgtw.eventbrite.co.uk to find out the rest of our programme. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.